Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news. Welcome back to another edition of Issues in Education. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight the important issues in the news affecting our public schooling families with the good doctor, Ralph Kerr, at the Teaching and Learning Institute. Ralph joining us from Hilton Head, South Carolina, suffering for Christ, as we like to say, in the beautiful South. Thanks for joining us today, sir.
No problem at all. I was going to kid that I voted in the primary on Saturday, but I won't do that.
Cause an uproar he is, even when he's away from home. But we hope you bring some of that warmth our way soon. We have a very important discussion to talk about today, and that, of course, is this coronavirus concern. I'm not going to say scare yet because, the United States doing fairly well compared to some other countries. You look at what's happening in Japan right now, Ralph. The entire country has shut down all schools for a month. I was shocked to see that sort of a response. Do you think that was a necessary move or a little bit of panic there on the part of Japan?
Well, I think probably a little bit of, maybe not a little bit, but a lot of panic. And I think that's the caution that we have to give in this whole situation, that we not allow the media to get us into panic mode here, because I think that, historically, we've done a good job in our country of dealing with things like this. Mm-hmm. And I think that, we have the director of U.S. Center for Disease Control saying that, it's important that schools across the country prepare for this, but by the same token, I don't think it's cause for panic at this point, because I do believe we are well prepared.
Yeah. The American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association have both asked for guidelines from the Trump administration for how schools should respond. What sorts of things are they looking for?
I think it's interesting that the union sort of taking over management role, which they love to do. I don't really know what business it is of theirs to be asking for direction from the feds about how to deal with this. I think that's really an administrative circumstance. And as I said, I think schools have a lot of experience. I mean, not too long ago, we're going through flu and some schools actually closing as a result of that, because particularly if teachers go down, then it makes it very difficult to staff the school. So again, I'm cautiously optimistic that schools have a plan and that they will work their plan. Certainly if parents are concerned about it, and they should be, it might be worth them calling the school, just ask, what is the school's plan? Is there, for instance, a threshold at which if a certain percentage of students and teachers are out, that school will be closed? Yeah. But again, I think all of us need to be cautious that we don't add to either the political divisions that have been evolving over this, which I think is really unfortunate, or contributing to a panic, which I don't think is necessary at this point.
And knock on wood, not a single confirmed case in New York or Pennsylvania at this point, and we want to keep it that way. And putting it in perspective, too, I was just looking at some of the world's infamous pandemics. 1918 Spanish flu killed 50 million people, infected 500 million. That was 1/3 of Earth's inhabitants. So you've got to put it in perspective. And I would imagine the same things you would do to protect yourself from traditional flu. Wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, those sorts of things bears repeating here.
Yeah, absolutely. Frequent washing of hands, none of us probably do that as often as we should. Disinfectant of frequently touched surfaces, and I'm sure schools will be doing that. Certainly if you have a cough, cover your cough up. I think the other thing is to just encourage staff and students that if you're sick, stay home. Yeah. Those are just common sense kinds of things, but I think they can be meaningful in terms of what we're facing at this particular time in our region as far as this virus is concerned.
Yeah, we've seen what it's done to the stock market. I like to joke that my 401k is now a 201k, but all joking aside, do you think that it's, because the president seemed to think that it's not inevitable, but do you think that it's inevitable that this coronavirus will eventually land on our doorstep here in New York and Pennsylvania?
I think it probably will, just because of the international travel that people are doing now. We also have international students, some of which have been home recently. Mm-hmm. So I think it is inevitable. But again, I would just caution that we not get in a panic over it. Do the things that are being recommended and try to keep calm, cool, and collected. And also pray for those that are infected by the virus. Mm. And certainly we can ask God to bring healing to our country in this regard as well.
Yeah, some things rise above politics. This is definitely one of them. Coronavirus at school. I know you're talking about this on your website, Ralph. Where can folks read more?
They can read more at simply whyrun.org. whyrun.org.